Hey, hey, what ain't on me.
What up, what up? You are live on Petty Sports Black, where I am HBCU. I'm your host, Famous Feez. They call me Facts. I'm here with Adam. Holla at him.
You already know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen. The official debut of Petty Sports Black is finally here. Like Feez said, everything HBCU, starting out in the SIAC, and we'll move our way along. So much on the lineup. Super excited to bring y'all this new generation of Petty Sports. Feez, let us know what we're chopping up in the debut today, man.
Debut show, we're going to just come straight out the blocks. We're doing Albany State University, the Golden Rams. We're going to tell you about what last season looked like, who they got returning, what next season is going to be, give you a few predictions. So y'all make sure you stay tuned. We got everything you need here. So, we're just going to jump right in. Last season, 2021, Albany State finished 10-2, 6-0 in the SIAC, won the conference outright, basically steamrolled the entire conference.
Yep.
They won the title game 31-0 over Miles. It was pretty disgusting.
Yep.
So, just looking at coming into this season, this will be what they had. Coach Gabe Giardina came in 2017, completely turned the program around.
Absolutely.
They've been really on the cusp of winning this division for the past 4 or 5 seasons now. So they've just turned into a powerhouse.
I absolutely agree. 10-2 overall record, 6-0 in the conference, like you said, and the only major losses were to West Georgia, in the opening round of the NCAA playoffs, of course, and then to Valdosta in week 3. Everything else outside of that, though, was dominant. I mean, besides Morehouse, you were extremely dominant. You're winning by an average of 29 points, 6 shutouts, and a couple of major ones over Savannah State, of course, Clark, Atlanta. So those are major programs that you see in this type of conference that people really look in on. And when you've got a team, bringing in the head coach, like you said, being able to turn everything around is fantastic. And if you even want to talk about, maybe a strong suit of this team, you look at the fact that their defense gave up 75 total points overall throughout the entire season, 6.8 points per game, and they are actually 30 total points behind of second place, 105 points given up by Savannah State, and they're 12 points average better than everyone else on the defensive side of the ball. So again, when you see that they're dominating so well offensively, putting up these points, but then they can hold you down on the back end as well. So I think it's so great for this team to be able to dominate this way, and who knows what they'll walk into as the seasons go on.
Just to your point of the domination and just how bad they beat everyone in the SIAC.
Yep.
They won those 6 games by a total of 209-19.
Jesus.
That's disgusting.
Sure we're not misspelling SEC over here?
10 of those actual 19 points came in a close game against Morehouse where they beat them 14-10.
Right.
But 209-19, and that's not counting Ed Waters, because Edward Waters was not in the SIAC last year.
Right.
They're a newcomer. Ed Waters and Allen are both now in the conference.
Yep.
But they beat Ed Waters 30-0.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't include the title game where they beat Miles 31-0.
Yeah, they're smacking folks out of the water, man. They're clearly one of the premier teams right now, and it's going to be so great because you've got NIL coming in. You've got guys like Dion, of course, making the moves. Hugh Jackson making the moves. Who knows what's next? These guys are going to keep buying in, and it's like my lady was asking me earlier today about, the attention of HBCUs, and I say, everybody goes to the SEC. Everybody's running to all these big college names, but when you bet on yourself, when you're a Shannon Sharp and you go to a Savannah State, his coach literally told him, just play. They'll find you. And Shannon Sharp is a Hall of Famer, multiple-time Super Bowl champion. We understand the career that he has, so it's just exciting to see a program just escalate so quickly in front of us.
Well, absolutely. Just looking over their game film, and they got a really run-heavy offense. It's very run-centric. It's led by now freshman running back. Well, he was a freshman last year, Marquise Fuchs. Mm-hmm. He had 514 yards and 9 touchdowns because he took over kind of towards the mid part of the season. He wasn't the starter to start. But, he had a very good showing. He played in 8 games, but he didn't start all 8 of those games. So
right.
Next year is going to be a big year for folks.
Oh, yeah.
His best performance was in that Morehouse game. He went for $106 and a touchdown in that game.
Right.
But, they're led by redshirt sophomore quarterback Deontay Banu.
Mm-hmm.
He got off in quite a few games. He's a dual threat kind of guy. I assume that this season they're going to open the offense up a little bit more for him.
Right.
He didn't throw the ball that much, but the way they were beating teams, it wasn't really necessary.
Right.
You're not going to just start airing the ball out when you're winning 57-0.
Yeah, you don't have to. We're just going to pull a Bill Belichick, Mac Jones, and We're just going to take it to the house. And I'm going to tell you in the pre and post game what's happening. Yeah, I know. Got to learn from our elders, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, going into the 2022 season, I think we're actually going to be looking at a lot more of the same of what we saw out of them last year because they're returning the whole roster.
Yeah.
There was only 2 seniors on the entire roster, and neither one of them were major impact players.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're going to be difficult to replace.
Right. Right, and you were mentioning some returning players there as well. You know, one guy I'm really looking forward to, you've got Antonio Leroy Jr., the redshirt junior actually out of Monroe High School. And, you know, not a ton of playing time for him so far that we've seen. You know, I think just a couple of games that he was able to get under his belt. But, you know, he's trying to follow in the footsteps of his older brother, Antonio Leroy Sr., I guess, rather. And just, you know, really try to keep it in the family and make that legacy over and over and over again because, you know, we can see how when guys move into this type of spectrum, it's great things that can happen for them. So I'd really like to see him come back and get a lot more playing time more than anything for the Golden Rams this year.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, like, they're the strengths that I see out of that football team. They're a very strong running game, clock control offense. I mean, if they get a lead on you, they're going to run the air out of the ball,
right?
Kill the clock, you lost. If you get behind, you can pretty much cancel it because they got a strong defense and a strong running game. I mean, they got a dominant front seven, so, I mean, they're not really giving up a lot of rushing yards, and with them getting leads like this, most teams are trying to pass, and for a lot of the teams that they're playing against, passing isn't their strong suit anyway, so that really puts them in a bad place.
Yeah.
I mean, only a few things that I see that they actually do need to work on in the offseason, which I'm sure Gabe is actually working on this, is just I feel like their offense was just a bit one-dimensional last year. I mean, it was 61% on the rush for the season. I mean, they're a little bit too run-centric. I think they need to take the handcuffs off of the offense, specifically in those non-conference games. I mean, it didn't really matter in the conference games because they beat everyone in the conference soundly. But when they faced the West Georgias and the Valdostas, they didn't fare well because they got behind. And they couldn't really run. And that kind of just it killed them. Like, between that and their secondary.
Right.
Like, they got behind against teams that actually could throw the ball well. When they had people throw over 200 yards on them, they didn't fare very well because they weren't able to get pressure on the quarterbacks, and the secondary just wasn't quite up for the task.
Yeah.
So they need work on the back end there, need to open up their own passing game.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's more than likely just an evolution of their own offense. If they open up their own passing game, that'll help the defense to be able to be better prepared to defend against it.
Yeah, and I'd like to see some better quarterback play as well. You know, I've seen, you know, throughout some of the quarterbacks that they're pushing through there, you're not getting a whole lot really of consistency or, you know, big time plays or even playing time in general to where you feel like they're buying enough in on them and actually putting weapons around them and creating schemes, you know, around their best player rather than trying to build from the outside in. Always go from the inside out. You know, start with the line, the quarterback, and just create weapons for him. And you know, speaking of another quarterback as well, you've got the freshman quarterback. Well, he was last year, sophomore, coming in. Tyree Taylor out of Sewanee, Florida, Live Oak High School. Again, I'd love to see some more playing time for him and just overall more dynamics out of you know, the head coach Gabe over there to just really employ more schemes for this team to, you know, continue their dominance more than anything.
Oh, absolutely. So, man, we're going to jump into the 2022 schedule and see what we look like for next year. Open up the season September 3rd against Mississippi College. Last year, they smacked them. They beat them 24-0.
Yep.
I'm expecting more of the same. Like, Mississippi did not get 24 points better, and this team is coming back. So it's going to be a better version of the team that waxed them last year.
Right. Yeah, I got a W as well. There's no reason they should really struggle with Mississippi College. I mean, we saw what they did last year, bringing everybody back, and we saw overall that they were better than most teams on the field. So I don't think really any reason to outthink the room. I think it's a W here for the Golden Rams.
Absolutely. Week 2, they go to FAMU. Should be a nice little test. I mean, FAMU actually was pretty decent in the SWAC last year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they can basically just use this game to test the growth just to see how much they've progressed from last season into this one. Think it should start off as a tight game, but by the third quarter, Golden Rams should pull away. I don't really see anything out of FAMU that says that they're going to give them a lot of trouble.
This is the one game of the season, only because it's so early, week 2, big win over Mississippi State. FAMU, you know, kind of not a newer team necessarily that they're going to see coming their way, but of course it's going to be someone different at this point in the season, coming off being champion. So you might have a little bit of that championship fatigue maybe hanging around in week 2. I might be calling an upset here for FAMU. It's going to be slim. It's going to break a lot of hearts. Obviously change the trajectory, of what this team is going to be pushing for, trying to repeat as champs. But I think this is going to be probably the one and only loss of the year for them early on. And it's going to be tough, but they'll adjust as the season goes on. And more than likely, bringing the wins as always.
Yeah, man, that would be a non-conference loss, so it wouldn't really matter in the grand scheme of the SIAC. So
right.
They'll be fine if they were to lose that game, but they're not losing it. When we get all the way down there, then we're absolutely going to bet on that.
Let's make it happen.
And we're not betting cases of Diet
no do cases, not at all. Bottles of Buchanan, sir. Fighting 69. Waiting on a little taste of that.
Anything whiskey, doesn't matter. Well, as long as it's not bottom shelf. We got September 17th, Shorter University. I know quarterback Deontay Banu is licking his chops for this game because he completely cooked them last year. Threw for 278, another 84 on the ground. That was like his coming out party against them. He's going to have his way against them again. Shorter has nothing for him. Yeah,
I think this is a total wipe. I mean, we saw the game last year. I believe they're just going to pound the football into the ground more than anything. And like you said, if the quarterback has another major game, what would really change? So, again, no reason to outthink this one. I think they'll definitely take the W against Shorter.
Oh, yeah. I mean, then they walk into September 24th matchup against Clark Atlanta. They'll be here in Atlanta for that game. Last year, beat them 49-0. No, Clark Atlanta did bring over a new head coach from the former Tuskegee head coach and 5-time Black College national champion, Willie Slater. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, he's coming in to turn the program around. It's pretty much going to be the same roster. To make a 49-point adjustment in philosophies is a tall task, and I don't see that happening. Maybe they won't beat them that bad this time, but they will win.
Yeah, they'll win, and I'll go on the fence with you. I think they might even beat them worse. You talk about the fact that they rolled over this team last year, and especially coming off, they're going to have a dominant game like we said against Shorter. But if they're still kind of feeling some of the eeks, I guess, from FAMU early on, this could be a really, really ugly one for Clark Atlanta. I think they absolutely rolled this one as well.
You about to hinge the whole season on the FAM game, man.
I'm telling you, man. We see it sometimes.
They talk about FAM.
I'm just saying. Well, it's going to be a reoccurring thing. It's the Florida teams, man. You know me. I'm just saying.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Man, October 1st, Miles College. They played Miles twice last year. They played them in the regular season, beat them 31-3. Played them in the conference championship game, 31-0.
Yep.
I mean, you lost by a total of 62-3. I don't see any chance that Miles is even in the game. Maybe this time they can put up 6, like maybe 2 field goals.
Or a field goal, no extra point. However way to look at it, right? That's what people always like to clown about. Yeah, more than likely a rollover here as well. They're just going to be the better team. They're just going to have a war path really going through all these teams here. So definitely a W.
Yes, I mean, you see up to this point, I still don't have them losing a game yet.
Right.
I mean, October 8th at Ed Waters, 30-0 last year. Another massacre this year. I mean, Edward Waters is now a conference game, so this is going to count towards their conference dominance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's just going to make them play harder. They know they've got their name. They got their number. They know the scheme that they like to run. And now that you're in my conference, you're really going to see the blood, sweat, and tears of the schemes that we're putting out on the field. So hate for it to sound like it's just an entire blowout segment of this team, but I mean, clearly being the champs, they're the top team in the conference, no doubt about it. So it's going to be another roll here.
Yeah, I mean, they got to that 10-2 record for a reason.
Yep.
I mean, October 15th, they play Benedict College at home. Last year, they beat them 28-6 on the road. This time, they're going to play them at home. It'll probably be worse. Mm-hmm. Teams usually do show up a little bit better when they're in their home stadium. When they travel to Albany to play, it's going to be ugly. I mean, I think 28-6 was nice for them last year.
Yeah, another W here as well. We saw what they did to Benedict College. They're, again, one of the best teams, if not the best team, of course, the champions coming out of this conference. They'll roll over Benedict. It could be a 40-point scoring kind of a tradition here, rather, I guess, for the Golden Rams.
Yep, then moving on to October 27th, they will travel down south to Savannah.
How about that?
Last season, they beat Savannah State 30-0.
Yeah.
And they got out early, a couple of bad turnovers, and then they just, like I said before, they controlled the clock, ran the ball, and that was pretty much a wrap. Savannah State, now they got a new head coach coming into town. So, I mean, it may not be exactly what they were able to do to them last year, but 30 points is a lot to overcome. And it is actually surprising that they were able to beat them that bad, as that was Savannah State's only loss in the conference.
Yep.
And it was 30-0.
That's why that win to me last year was so major. Great conference. Great team, great program, and they wiped the floor with them. Like, it was no issue. And I think that was one of the games where people really saw, like, wow, these guys are here to play, they're here to stay, and then you're not scratching your head at the end of the season when they're hoisting the trophy.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, they were 1-2 in the conference when they played. Actually, Savannah was 1 in the conference when they played that game.
Yep.
So I know that was slated for Savannah State's homecoming. He moved it. It was like, let's not do that.
Yeah, we don't. We got to save some hearts when we're during the homecoming.
You're not supposed to play a team for homecoming that's capable of beating you 30-0.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like when Tennessee played Georgia State. It's a $900,000 shellacking. Well, not really shellacking, but you paid to get embarrassed. You don't want that to happen.
Yeah, it's like no. Yeah, move that. Good call, Savannah.
Yeah. Shout out Shay Sharp. Club Shay probably made a call.
Oh, yeah. Club Shay, I live there. Savannah State alone. I'm here.
Let's make it happen.
October 29th, Morehouse. This was the only close conference game that they had last year. 14-10, they beat Morehouse. But now Morehouse is actually traveling to Albany. I think at this point in the season, they will be undefeated still. They're going to be all the way up for this because Morehouse feels like they actually have a legitimate chance to beat them.
Right.
I think that they'll come out so motivated in this game that they're going to blow Morehouse out. No, Morehouse is not going to enjoy hearing that. They're going to beat you bad. I mean, Morehouse is not a good enough football team.
He said they're going to beat you bad.
They are. It's going to be pretty ugly. So I think this one is going to be one of the worst blowouts of the season just because of the way that Albany's going to approach the game.
Yeah. And see, this is another game that I think, we had the 14-10 game last year. I think this could be a close overtime game. Morehouse is motivated. They're on the road now. Again, Albany State being at home, it's going to have a lot of momentum, a lot of great fans behind it, for the Golden Rams. But I think Morehouse comes in just as motivated as the Golden Rams do. And I could see like 17-14 overtime win for the Golden Rams. Another nail biter, but they'll be cruising still. They'll just have to get humbled, kind of checked at this point in the season before they really start that championship run.
Sounds like another bottle of whiskey to me.
Let's make it happen. We'll see. So you got Morehouse and, I still got them winning. I don't have them losing. I still think the Golden Rams win will just be very slim overtime victory.
I'll bet you a bottle on the point total. It's not going to be that close.
Over, under. Heard.
Yeah, not going to be that close at all. Now, last game of the season before the conference championship game, which we all know that they'll be right back in. November 5th, Fort Valley. It's a classic. They're going to be playing in Columbus, so it's a neutral site game.
Yep.
57-0 last year. It's going to be another boat racing.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can tell me that's going to make me believe that a team got 57 points better.
Yeah, absolutely not. This will be a boat race. This will probably be a shutout. At least 35 to 40 points from the Golden Rams here. I hope I see some, more than that one-dimensional offensive play, like you said, especially later in the season. You're going to want to have seen them develop. You're going to want to see them be able to adjust at certain times, whether they're kind of getting pushed around or not. Can you keep me on my toes? Can we play this little cat and mouse game? Because that's what's required. We know championship play comes around, but they'll be just fine in this one. I just hope to see that offense more developed by the time they're playing the last game of the season. Well, before they, make the run, of course. So,
absolutely. So I've got them undefeated for the season, and they'll win the conference championship again. I'm pretty sure the Golden Ram fans are like, y'all are happy to hear that.
Oh, absolutely.
Looking at the schedule, I really don't see any L's on it. Especially you're returning the roster from what it was last season, 10-0, another conference championship. Hopefully, you can have a better showing in the playoffs this season. So I know you called 9-1.
Yeah, 9-1. The only loss will be to FAMU. It'll be a tough one. Week 2, it's just going to be one of those games that slips up on them. And again, they could roll FAMU, no problem, but something tells me week 2, a little bit of a hangover still there. It's going to be a fantastic game against Mississippi, but this will be a one, just like Morehouse. They'll just humble you a little bit. They'll still be fine. They'll still be champions, but this will be that one game where they just got to get it together, and they'll be fine. They'll be totally fine.
That's what Adam thinks. I don't see it. Y'all make sure y'all weigh in. Let us know what you think about it. We're going to come on every week. One more school, all SIAC. We just going to run down the line. Next week, Savannah State. We doing my alma mater. Got to talk about them. We're going to run down them. We'll break it down. Make sure y'all tune in. Share the show. Tell a friend. Let everybody know Petty Sports Black is here. We're covering all SIAC sports this season. Make sure y'all share it. Get it out there. Let everybody know. Y'all rock with us on Petty Sports.
We are HBCU. Look, there's nowhere else you're going to get this type of content for HBCU athletics. We're starting with football, moving over into basketball, essentially. It's a whole nother project we're putting into the show, of course, behind King's Broadcasting Studios as well. Stay along for the journey, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot of great content coming for you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you tune in and share that show, baby. And we out. I'm a real nigga, not a rapper.